Hello and welcome to That Nerd Thing, where we uncover the magical impact that fandoms have on our lives. I'm Morgan, and I'm so excited. I know I say this every episode, but I'm really so excited because today we have a guest that I have been asking to be on the show for a few months now, and finally she said yes. I like to call her the book club queen because she created one of the book clubs that I'm in and did such an amazing job and fostered such an amazing community. And I'm just so excited that she's here. So Illy, I am so excited that you are here on the show. So Illy is the founder of the Spinebenders Society Book Club. So hi, Illy.
Hi. And the only reason I didn't come on sooner is because you've had so many awesome people on here. And I'm just like, I have no big social media following. I'm not like, so I was just like, I just love reading. And that's just pretty much what I've done is just find other people that love to read.
Yeah, but I think it's also just that passion has been so amazing. And, when I created the show, I initially was like, yeah, I want to find the people with the big followings, but I also want just like everyday people because I really want, I feel like I'm like doing a marketing pitch here, but like elevating the voices of nerds.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I love your episodes. Like, I've really enjoyed them. So I'm excited to get to be on and, to talk about my nerdiness, with you, which I know you probably know a lot about the book part of my nerdiness. Mm-hmm. So we get to delve into other stuff too. So it's kind of cool.
I'm so excited. I know you've been such an amazing supporter, like since the beginning of this podcast. So thank you. Like you watch every episode. You're so supportive. And so I really appreciate it.
I feel like that's back to like just being part of any type of community or like fandom or the book club or anything like that. It's just supporting other people, and you were supportive of me from the very beginning with the book club. Like every single meeting you were in, you would like text me and like, you'd participate in the conversations and like different things for meetings. And like, I appreciate the same. I know how important this is to you. And it's been great to see it grow and see like your excitement when somebody says yes that you didn't think was going to say yes. And then I get excited for who's going to be on as well. So it's been great. I love the fostering of community and just like supporting each other.
Thank you. So tell us about your book club. This way listeners, if they're located in either of the areas, they could check it out.
It started in South Florida, which is where you attend book club. And then I moved to Orlando and I didn't know anybody up here. I have a very small part of my family that lives up here, but they're still like 30 to 40 minutes away. And I had made such great connections by having the South Florida book club that I decided, let me try to start the book club up here in Orlando. And I will say that like, I was so touched that the women from the South Florida book club, that several of them were up for leading it and, taking it over for me so that it wouldn't just be like, okay, well, Ileana moved away. So now there's no more Spinebenders in South Florida. But
that would have been devastating.
It was devastating to me. I mean, it's funny because it's such a major life decision, even though we only moved like 4 hours north, but it's a major decision to do that. And I know it sounds silly, but like the book club was like part of that. My husband was definitely like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure that you want to leave South Florida after you created this group that's going so well? And I was like, well, if it's what's best for our family and us, then we have to do it. And I have great people here, like great core OG people that are willing to take it. And it's been great. I mean, you guys have been doing awesome. I mean, I know Suzanne has been like a queen of reels and stuff. Like I've been like texting her, like, how do I do this? But I think I went off on a tangent because I didn't really say how the Spinebender Society came to be. I got married last year and I'm a very organized person. So for like a year and a half, everything was wedding. And when the wedding comes, it goes by so quick. And then afterwards, you're like, what do I do now? And my husband and I work together for the same company. We both work from home. So we each decided, like, let's find a hobby that will take us outside of our house and
Smart.
gives us our own time, to be individuals. And I got into a book club and I loved it. I loved the people that I met, but I had a particular taste in books that was not the same as that book club leader. And she was so nice to allow me to open up the floor to her club and say, hey, if you like dark thrillers and fantasy and spicy, might make you uncomfortable books, I'm starting a book club and we're called the Spine Benders, So it went from there and it just grew and grew and grew. And now we have about an average. I know that because of where we typically meet at restaurants that are within the theme of the book of some sort. So we have to limit our reservation to whatever it is that the restaurant will allow us to do. So typically we're averaging about 15 to 20. I think in South Florida, they've been able to go up to like 22 or 23 to a meeting. But in the actual club, we have about 80 in each club.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was crazy because when I started the Orlando chapter, I was concerned I wasn't going to have anybody at the first meeting. I was like, how am I going to get people involved? I use an app for it. And there was like 2 other book clubs up here, but they weren't in person. So I was like, okay, I have that. I have the fact that I have an in-person book club. And then I just on a whim posted it somewhere and it blew up. Like people just started requesting to be added and requesting and requesting. And I had just as many people in Orlando as I did in Florida. And I mean, in South Florida. And South Florida, it took me a good 6 or 7 months, to get that many people. Whereas in Orlando, before the first meeting, I had over 70 members.
That's amazing.
So it's grown a lot. Yeah. And I'm excited to see like where the Orlando chapter heads, because we have women in the chapter that have had their own book clubs before. We have a lot of different tastes in books. So, but everyone is super hyped and like wants to participate and wants to like, I'll help with pictures and I'll help with the social media. And so it's a very engaged group. So I'm excited for that.
You're totally building a brand.
I hope so. I've been trying to get the shirts. I know that South Florida has been asking me for merch for the longest time. And I'm like, I promise I have it in my cart. It's just like, I'm always worried, like, what's the material going to be like? Do I want to tweak this? Do I want to tweak that? My perfectionism almost prevents me from like hitting checkout because I'm like, I want it to be quality stuff. So if anybody on here has like some kind of Etsy or something and they want to collab, I'm down. I definitely want to get the merch going.
Oh, I love that. And I mean, even if it's not perfect, we'll, make a second batch.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is that I am a perfectionist and like I want it to be great.
That.
So
I totally get that.
And I have like, you have like a vision of what you want things to like kind of look like. Because I don't, we're the Spine Bender Society. Like, it's got to be like a little bit like, that vintagey, like, I don't know. It's got like a flavor to it. And I can't quite describe that. But if you look at the pictures, on the app that I use, or, definitely like the Orlando Instagram and things like that, it's got like a particular flavor to it, is all I could say.
So what has been the most surprising part about starting a book club?
The fact that people show up and that they not only show up, but they are excited to show up and they want to be in a group chat and they want to talk to each other and they want to do things outside of book club. They want to hang out. They, want extra meetings. I remember being in the group chat with the girls from South Florida and someone mentioned, I want a t-shirt. I want a hoodie. I want, like these different things. And I was like, really? For the Spine Bender Society? Like you want to rep like Spine Bender Society? And it's so cool. And it feels so good to like know that people want to have that connection to each other. It's pretty, it feels good. It's rewarding, I guess, to see that. And also to me, the best part that I haven't gotten to experience it yet in Orlando because it's so new. But in South Florida, that after a few months of all of us meeting and multiple meetings, because it wasn't just once a month sometimes, to just look around and like me be silent and just see all of these wonderful women that are just like, hey, like, how is this going for you? And hey, I remember you said you were going to go on a trip here, and just forming those connections and knowing that like I made that possible, because I created
Yeah.
this group, and I love that.
But you didn't just create it, you like fostered it once it was created.
It feels so good to like hear somebody say that, because that's what I'm aiming for, like, and I think the difference between the South Florida chapter and the Orlando chapter to me is that in South Florida, I had a few personal friends that I knew that came to the first meeting to like be supportive of me and, just show support. There's really no other way to say it. And I got to see, I formed connections, of course. I still speak to you and plenty of other of the women from the group, but I got to form some connections. But I wasn't the person that had just moved into town and didn't have any friends, yet, and was doing this to meet people. I wasn't that person. And now with the Orlando chapter, I get to be that person. It's pretty cool, in that aspect.
Yeah, it's such a great way to form friendships, and everybody is just so nice.
Yeah.
I recommend book clubs to everybody.
Same. I feel like book club friends are so great. And maybe it's just a fandom thing. Maybe it's just people that are fandom people are just great people because all they want to do is like connect and talk to you about what they're passionate about and immerse themselves with you into like whatever it is that you're passionate about. If you really love a particular book or you hate a book. I love going to book club and like somebody hates the book that we read that month. Everybody knows that if they rate the book low, I'm like a huge smile on my face. Like, what did you hate about this book? Like, tell me what you hated because I want to know. So yeah, it's a great way to form connections. I think everybody should. If you like books, right? Like join whatever it is that you like. Because if you hate books, don't join a book club. Whatever it is that you're into, like find it. Like there's so many different social clubs out there. And if there's something that's not out there, just create it for yourself. People will like it too. There's somebody out there that's waiting for you to create a social group that hasn't been created yet.
Yes, I love that. So true. So in a little bit, I'll definitely want to talk about maybe any tips you have, especially not just for starting a book club, but maybe even joining one when you're an introvert. I think that would be helpful to talk about. But let's first dive into your nerdy identity.
Okay.
What is the first thing that you remember being nerdy about?
So I know it's going to sound a little repetitive, but I truly like I thought about this question. I knew that you were going to ask me this, right? Like I watch and listen to the podcast. So I knew that it was coming. And I really tried to think about all the things that I was nerdy about when I was a kid. And I was like, yeah, like, I loved video games. Like I loved Selena and Backstreet Boys and Spice Girls and all this stuff. But really, the thing I was the most nerdy about was books. And I really am not lying or exaggerating about that. Like from the time that I was like a toddler, I guess you can say, like before kindergarten, I had every single little critter book. I had Junie B. Jones was like my series, like Junie B. Jones and the Stupid Smelly Bus, like all of those books. So I had all of those. I had like a library with my neighbor. So we both like to read and we had a lot of books. So we would we would tape like a little notebook paper thing like in our books, and we would let each other borrow the book and put like a due date on there for each other. So we had a little like library exchange kind of thing that we started. Something else that really kept me going with reading was also my elementary school had the Book It program. And it was basically you had to read a certain amount of books and you got like a free personal pan pizza. And
yes, I remember that.
yeah. And I was like, and my brother will always make fun of me for that. He's like, oh, like she'll read some books for some pizza. And yeah, I definitely would. So I think a lot of people say Harry Potter, but for me, my passion with loving stories and like immersing myself in like other worlds and stuff, it was before Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter just made it okay for me to like
Mm.
publicly be like, oh, like I'm always reading a book. Harry Potter, then Twilight, then in my 20s, it was 50 Shades of Grey, so there was always something, some sort of series or something that
Mhm.
was like keeping me going. I still go to anything pertaining to like Harry Potter. So like I recently went to the orchestra. So
Oh,
they do
yeah.
like a full orchestra. So I went to the first for the first book, and then they came out with the Deathly Hollows concert right when we moved up. I love how they're like incorporating that now.
I know, that's so cool.
It really is. And it brings out a different perspective to the movie. I feel like it Deathly Hollows, the music that they put on when he died, I was like bawling, like hysterically crying.
Yeah, that's so true. The music is so powerful, and like to hear that at the same time.
Yeah, it brings a lot of different emotions out of it, which I think is really cool. I will say that when they did it with the first movie, I actually enjoyed it a lot more because Deathly Hollows
Mm.
is a little bit
Oh,
more,
yeah.
less action until the end, more slow paced. But that first book is like the perfect one for like orchestra. It's like just enough excitement. So it was pretty cool.
What's your favorite genre?
I started Spinebenders because of dark thrillers. I love dark thrillers. Like I love dark and twisty, but I also enjoy like giving myself a break or like jumping from genre to genre sometimes. Because sometimes dark thrillers, if you read a really dark book, like sometimes you need something a little bit lighthearted afterwards. I would say that, the Spinebender Society, our genres are the genres that I enjoy. I enjoy dark thrillers. I enjoy a fantasy book every now and then. I enjoy spicy romance. It's what I like. So I can't really say it's just one.
And I see you have a Fourth Wing shirt on, right?
I do. I have my Fourth Wing shirt on. I was like, I need some kind of bookish merch to have on. The one that I wore to Fourth Wing, to our Fourth Wing meeting, which was so
Love it.
awesome.
It was. What's your favorite nerdy thing?
My favorite nerdy thing is book clubs right now. Like as of now, just with everything in the past like year, we're coming up on a year since I started the Spinebender Society in South Florida. And I love the book club world. I love just looking through, like reading the book with everybody. I try to like read ahead so that I can see different themes throughout the book and trying to use my own creativity to bring out different things from the book that maybe not everybody caught. For our meetings, I try to like do something with the discussion questions or do something with the restaurant or wear something, like we're reading None of This Is True this month, and our meeting is on Thursday, at least when we're recording this. And the one of the characters is very unique. She definitely has like her own style. Like she wears a lot of denim material. So she'll wear like a denim shirt with denim jeans, with a denim purse, with denim flats, with like she sews. So like I'm assuming that like the reason why is because she probably takes jeans and then sews her own things. And then she also has like a Pomchi dog that she takes everywhere with her. And he's like kind of like a character within himself as well within the book. So I'm definitely wearing all jean like to the meeting. I have like the table scape is denim. It's about a podcast. So we have these little podcast microphones that are going to be on the table. I have a stuffed Pomchi, that's going to be with me.
Yeah.
So it's just so much fun, to like really immerse yourself like that. And then another thing that I absolutely love is having these conversations about the book, because sometimes others will capture things that you don't, or will have like a different point of view on something in the book completely. And I love those moments during book club discussion where it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that, or I didn't catch that.
It makes reading such a community experience that I really love.
Same. I love, like, I always say, then I mentioned this earlier, I love when people don't like a book. I will finish the book. If it's a book club book, I will finish the book even if I'm not enjoying it and I hate it. I will finish it just because I want to talk about why I didn't like it. Like, I want to talk about why I hated it and why it sucked. And I love those discussions. Like, I feel like sometimes, like, we read a book before in South Florida and we all agreed that we hated the book. And it was probably one of the best discussions and longest discussions that we had on a book, because people tend to feel a lot more passionately about what they don't like sometimes than what they do. So sometimes you ask a person like, why did you like this book? And they don't really have a direct answer. They're just like, I liked the storyline, or I liked the characters, or, you know, whatever. And if they don't like a book, they'll be like, it was too slow. The character frustrated me. I just couldn't get into the plot. The synopsis of the book completely disappointed me. I thought it was going to go in one direction and went in another. So I love it. I love hearing when people don't like a book.
What are you currently nerdy about?
So recently moving to Orlando, something that we do have up here that I feel South Florida is lacking is we have more independent bookstores. And my dream retirement is to just own a bookshop that serves wine, that just serves wine and cocktails. Like, we'll make, you know, tell us what book you're reading and we'll make you a themed cocktail or a mocktail, you know. I would love that. So for me,
wait. Why is this a retirement dream?
Well, it might not be. I
think this should happen now.
I know, but like perhaps there one day will be Spinebender Society book cafe and bar or something. I don't know. I watch too much Bar Rescue. I think that's probably what it is, that like I see how much work it is and it's kind of like, you know what, like I don't think I could keep a full-time job and also have that. So maybe that's why it's more of like a retirement thing for me. But I would love that. So yeah, that's my current thing right now, I think, is trying to like explore the indie bookstores in Orlando right now. And I would love to partner with one so that our members could buy their book from the bookstore directly. And that way we aren't just reading, but we're also supporting local as well. Because that's really important to me, is small business and supporting local. I used to, in South Florida, I would try to find different restaurants or venues that would take us as a big group. But sometimes it's really hard because, you know, they can't do as big of a group as we are sometimes. So
yeah. So you read a lot. Do you watch anything?
I do. It's funny because we were just talking about this, right? Is Big Brother and the fact that you had Evil Dick on the show. I love Big Brother. I will say that I'm more of an OG fan than the current seasons. I think the current seasons have gotten a little bit cheesy, and I think it's more about people wanting to become famous than like, you know, actually strategizing. And that's the best part of the show to me, is like, you can be the best at competitions, but if you don't have a strategic game, you know, and people don't like you, it's going to be hard for you to, you know, move forward. And I used to love the villains. So for me, now that like that whole aspect is getting toned down, is, you know, a little bit of a bummer. But I'm excited to see it because I think it comes out this week, right? We have like, yeah. So I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers. I don't have high hopes for it. But I will say that like I was a major Big Brother fan in the OG days.
What is the most underrated nerdy thing about you?
I think that my book club friends know this already, but the lengths that I will go to immerse myself in something that I am really nerdy about. For example, my favorite movie of all time is The Sound of Music. It kind of goes with like the grumpy sunshine trope that like I'm all about in a book. So a few years ago, I went to Austria. Like I went to Salzburg by myself, and I went on the Sound of Music tour, and I went to like all of the different like areas where they filmed. Everybody was kind of like, are you really going to Europe by yourself? It was the first time that I ever left the United States. It was back in 2017. Wow. And I went to Germany and I went to Austria. And people were really like people that I knew were like, I can't believe that you're going to go by yourself. Like, are you really going to do this? And I was like, I'm going to learn enough German to get myself around, and I am going to go and be in the city of the sound of music. And that's what I want to do. And I have all of the
Wow.
pictures, and I had like a great group that was on the tour with me that we were like singing along to the music and like, nerding out like that. So I will go to some lengths, for a theme or to immerse myself in anything that, I really love.
That's so amazing that you did that.
I think every woman needs to go on a solo trip at least once in their life.
Yeah.
It's the best.
What was so amazing about it?
I think it's very liberating. It felt very liberating to go by myself. It was the first time that I ever traveled by myself like that for like almost a week. I think like it makes you also really get to know yourself as well. You definitely learn a lot because there's nobody else there for you to like do research with or anything. Like you have to do your own research. You have to figure out what it is that you want to do because you can't depend on what somebody else wants to do. This is your itinerary. Like this is your trip. Like you have to schedule things. You have to look at like what's good to eat in the area and what restaurants to go to. And it's fun in that aspect. At least it was fun for me because I do love to
Yeah.
plan trips. But I think there's also something so powerful about being halfway around the world and taking planes, taking trains, taking cars, and being like on top of a mountain that just like there's nothing like it, to be like, wow, like, I did all this and I did it by myself.
That's
It
so
is
cool.
great. Yeah. And I've never been one to have a problem with doing anything by myself,
Hmm.
like taking myself to lunch or going to a movie or anything. I have always said I don't annoy myself. I think I'm funny. I think I have great taste in activities and food. So it's kind of like I'm my own perfect travel companion. Like,
Yeah.
and
I
it's,
love that.
it's like when you go with somebody else, you have to like think about their budget and what do they eat? What don't they eat? Like, okay, maybe they want to be less adventurous and do more relaxing things. I think everybody should do at least one solo trip.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
What is the most random nerdy thing about you?
I think that something that would kind of like surprise people is that I was a huge World of Warcraft gamer in high school.
Wow, that does surprise me.
Yeah, like I would spend hours upon hours upon hours like, playing World of Warcraft. It's been like a good 17 years since I've played, but I think that it kind of like when you play a game like that, like an RPG game like that where it's just this whole world of things,
Hmm.
like it's kind of led to I work in technology, and one of the things that is super important is like knowing what tech does. So if you know me, you know that if you recommend an app to me, I'm going to download it and I'm going to know every single functionality that it does. And you kind of like have to do that in RPG. Like you kind of have to know like, every character that you can possibly be and what their moves are and where do you go on the map and what does this do. And I think it kind of like led into my love for like apps because now we have so many apps on our phones that do so many things. Like even the Bookclub app that I use to like manage the book clubs, I'm active on like groups that they have for admins on there where like I find functionalities that like I didn't even know existed, like how to sort and pull data and things like that I get nerdy about
I
as
love it.
well.
I love it. I was just thinking, oh, this is so nerdy. I love it.
Yeah, I think it was funny because I'm meeting with somebody from the app this week because, I have a big mouth. Like sometimes I can't help it. And I was in that forum, and one of the admins that works for the app, right? They posted something about that they had a new feature that you could sort by something. And I was like, in a very kind way, I basically was like, yeah, it's great that you can sort, but I'm not getting any data off of this. Like I can sort by the members' participation, but what does participation mean? Is it the last time that they signed in? Is it the last time that they voted on something? Is it the last time they submitted a book? Like I want to know what kind of participation and engagement they have. And I went from like posting that to that person replying back to me, like sending me a DM and being like, hey, can we meet? Because I really want to pick your brain on how managing different chapters should look like in our app. And I was like, that is perfect. That is something I would love to do.
That's so cool.
It is. It's super cool, you know, and the app that we use is great, but it leaves something to be desired for admins in particular. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think it's super user friendly, but when it comes to being like an admin, especially now that we have 2 chapters, it's a little bit harder to like manage things from that, you know, perspective. So it would be great if, you know, we could have it all housed under one, and then just chapters for South
Oh.
Florida could see the South Florida stuff, and then the Orlando chapter can see the Orlando chapter, and that be it.
Oh, so it wouldn't allow for people like me who is like, I have FOMO, so I'm going to join the Orlando chapter just to read it and see what's going on.
How many book clubs are you in at this point? Like, because I know you're in at least 3.
I can't keep track. It's too much. I overcommit. So one of the things that I think would be so cool for you to do is just to have chapters everywhere and people learn how to run a book club like the way that you do it. What has it been like for you to start this book club? What tips do you have for maybe people who want to start one or even want to join one?
First of all, I would love that. Like, I would love
Yeah.
to have chapters. And when I started Spinebender Society, and then when I moved up here, I had that crossroads of like, do I do my own thing and start Spinebender Society later on, continue Spinebender Society and have another chapter? Or do I go with one of these like massive book clubs that are all around the country
Yeah.
that have like hundreds of chapters? And I chose to stick with Spinebenders because, like you said, like it is a brand. And I believe in the way that we do things. Like I believe in getting nerdy about where we're going to meet and looking at what foods we should eat that go with the book and dressing up for it. And it's what makes it fun to me. So, what I would say as a tip for anybody that's looking to start a book club is number one, don't be afraid to like talk about wanting to have a club,
Mm.
you know? Because I think you've mentioned it before that like you love doing the podcast so much that you'll ask anybody to be on there, you know, like it doesn't matter how famous they are, like you love the podcast, so you don't mind talking about it and you don't mind putting yourself out there. And I think it's the same thing with book club. Like talk about it,
Yeah.
you know, and put yourself out there. There are so many different platforms now and different types of social media. And also be true to yourself as well. I do not like nonfiction. I am not a nonfiction person. I'm not huge on historical fiction. It has to be like a really juicy story in order for me to like get into historical fiction. So as much as I might have members that sometimes they submit those types of books, if I'm not going to get excited about it, I can't make anybody else excited about it. So I have to stick true to genres that I like. However, I think it's just as important to remember that you're leading this book club, but it's not just your book club. You have to like talk to your group, especially your core people. Like you're always going to have OG core people once you get started that are going to show up to every single meeting. And those are the people that you want to talk to and find out like, what do you want to see? Like, what do you want to read? Do you want to do activities other than just meetings? Do you want to do an escape room? Do you want to like, I don't know, do like a paint night, you know, like, because those people are going to support you and they're going to be there month after month, and other people will see that. And as long as you're consistent, you're going to build that following. Consistency is really, really important.
And passion. You have so much passion, which I think just shows up. We can tell like what it means to you. And so it shows up in that. And that's why we want to go. That's why everybody was so upset when you said you were moving.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. And it's really opened up a lot of friendships that like I would have never met all the women that I've met. And I've met wonderful people, like really just genuine, wonderful people that it's hard not to be passionate when I know that like I am going to be meeting, like I'm going to a meeting with like these wonderful people that are going to be excited for what I'm doing. So it's like, why not do it? Why not spend a couple of hours making swan origamis for a meeting because people are going to see it? And
I knew I was like, there was something I wanted to bring to the meeting, and that was it. I have it like somewhere in my shelf.
I think I still have like a ton in my purse or something, honestly. Like they just keep on popping up everywhere because I think I made like a lot more than like we actually needed. I think that when I think about Spinebenders Society having chapters all over, like those are the people that I want to lead the book clubs. Like I want people that are going to be passionate. Like our leads in South Florida now are like so passionate, and they just did it was the first meeting where like I did not attend. I had like absolutely no hand in it whatsoever. And I was so excited to see the pictures, and I was so excited to see the video. And then we had, the author of the book like comment on the reel because like they just did such a phenomenal job, like just
They did. They did a great job.
immersing. Yes. And I was like, I left it in the perfect hands, and there's nothing that makes me feel better than that. So I would love to see that. Like I would love to have, anybody who like you want to start a book club in your city and you're passionate and you love to nerd out and get into themes and get dressed up and eat food that has to do with the book. Like Spinebender Society is your people, and like let me know. Like I'm happy to coach anybody through it.
Yeah, for sure. So, and we'll plug things at the end too, but how could people find you?
So I'm trying my best because I don't want to be hypocritical, right? One of the tips that I said was like, you need to put yourself out there, and there's so much social media. I am terrible at social media, so I am being very purposeful. I think there's like a better word for that.
Intentional?
Intentional. I'm being very intentional this year, like as of July, of posting and trying to be more active on social media when it comes to like the bookish side, like the Bookstagram. So Spinebender Society _ORL for Orlando. You could DM me, and I'm happy to like answer questions or help. I'm up for as many chapters as people want to do, and I wish that a few years ago, before I got married, back when I was single, really, like I wish that I had this community because all of my friends were married with children, kind of moving on to other chapters of their life. And I was the last one that went into that chapter. So, it would have been great to have like a community that I have now. So I feel like it's such a wonderful thing to have, especially for people that like are moving to a new city or they're single and they want to meet friends that they could just go to lunch with or, go to a movie with. There's nothing like that, and I wish that I had that back when I was single.
For people who might be nervous about attending their first book club meeting or going, it's so easy, especially as an introvert, to be like, oh, I don't want to meet new people. Like, what will it be like? It feels like there's something special about a book club where everybody is kind of going in with that same intention of what they want it to be. And everybody is just so nice. What tips would you have for maybe introverts who want to go to a book club?
I think that it's perfectly okay to go to a book club and just like go up to the lead, whoever's leading the
Ooh,
meeting,
yeah.
and introduce yourself, let them know that like, I'm sure they'll know that it's your first meeting. If they're a good lead, they're going to make sure that like they talk to you at some point during the meeting. But, let them know like, hey, I'm super introverted. So if you don't hear from me a lot, just know that like I'm warming up to it. And if you have a good lead in your group, they'll bring you into the conversation. Or like if you don't want to be brought into the conversation and you just kind of want to like chill and just kind of listen, that's fine too. I have never been to a meeting where anybody has ever gotten called out for not participating enough. I think one of the great things about book clubs that are great for introverts is that in any other social situation, you kind of have to like come up with small talk or like try to find something in common. You already have something in common. You read the same book, So all you have to do is just come prepared to sit there. And if somebody wants to talk to you about the book, just be receptive, But we have all different sorts of personalities. And we definitely have introverts. We definitely have like the extroverts. We have me as the loudmouth, and it's for everybody. It's just what's your comfort level. And I think it also helps that first meeting is going to be feel a little awkward, and then you're going to come back and it's going to be less awkward, and then you come back and it's going to be less awkward. Like, expect consistency from whoever is leading the book club, but also be consistent in coming so that you do form relationships with people.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I would definitely say though that it's nice when you're brand new to a book club that you have that one thing in common, which is you read the book. And then eventually people don't even read the book. They just come because they want to hang out together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel so inspired after every book club meeting. I leave and I'm just like, wow, I'm so energized. I want to read every book. I'm just so motivated and inspired.
It's so much fun to like hear what other people are reading sometimes, like outside of book club, right? That's kind of another thing that's fun about it, is knowing what you're reading right now. What are you enjoying reading? What are you not enjoying reading? I feel like getting those different perspectives is a lot of fun. Like my TBR list is so long right now.
Oh gosh, mine too.
Yeah, it's so long, but I mean, the whole top shelf up here is like TBR, and it's fun to connect with people and just hear what they're reading as well. I think that's another fun part about being part of a book club, is you get exposed to more books. And there's lots of books that I would not have read if it wasn't part of the book club book. I think that's another thing that's really great, is sometimes you find books that you really, really love that you never would have picked up.
Totally. Almost everything I've read in the past year, I never would have read if it wasn't for book club.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, there's definitely, like, we read 7 Year Slip at the beginning of this year, and it's magical realism. And I feel like it's a book that I probably would have skipped over, at a bookstore and just like picked it up. It had a pretty cover, but I would read it and be like, oh, magical realism. Do I really feel like reading this now? And it has turned out to be one of my favorite books that like I've read in the past few years. If we hadn't voted for it, it wouldn't have made it. And it was suggested by somebody. We voted for it. And so, yeah, there's so much to love about book club.
Yeah. What does being a nerd mean to you?
Being passionate about literally anything, like just a topic like that just drives you and makes you want to learn more about it. You want to talk about it. You want to immerse yourself in it. And you just genuinely enjoy making connections with people. When you had Nicole on from Fantasy Fangirls, she said something about merch and how like it's so cool to wear different book merch, or like, if you're into Star Wars, or like, whatever it is that your thing is, like just wearing merch and just being at the supermarket and somebody coming up to you and making a comment. That's so cool. Like that, like, fandoms provide that, that instant connection, like across the room with somebody.
Okay. Side story. So I went to Florida SuperCon this last weekend, and I just like made these shirts on Amazon.
I saw that.
Not to sell or anything, just for myself, because I was like, I need to like rep the podcast somehow. And David Tennant, my dream guest, he looked at my shirt. He's like, oh, you have a podcast. And so we spoke about it. I mean, that's it. It didn't go anywhere, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I did tell him he's my dream guest, but these celebrities are busy, but
you opened the door though, like it's definitely something like in a few weeks or in a couple of months, like, hey, I met you. Like, you may have said that you wanted to be on my podcast. You may have not said it, but I'm going to go with, I'm pretty sure that you said you wanted to be on my podcast, I mean, I love that. I saw that though. It looked like you had a ton of fun.
Cons are a little exhausting for me, but I was like, I got to do it. These are people I've been wanting to meet. So
I don't think I've ever done anything like that. Like, I think that's something I should probably get into.
Well, they have like book type of cons these days now, like balls and stuff. So that might be like a good entryway into it.
Yeah, I need to look that up. That's like a really really good point and see what's around. I know that there's one. It's mostly for like fantasy books and things like that, but I mean, I love that stuff too. So, I think I just need to
Yeah.
look and see what's coming up. And I would love to at some point do some kind of retreat. So, we're coming up on the year anniversary. So,
Amazing. So, in terms of geeky recommendations, I know you've given so many recommendations throughout the episode about starting a book club and attending. And I just want to add as my recommendation to reach out to Illy to learn how to start your own book club chapter for Spinebender Society because it is amazing and you cannot ask for a better person to coach you through it.
thank you. That means a lot. I truly believe in the friendships that you create and the connections that you create, and just like how good it is for just your mental health overall to just like use your
Oh, yeah.
creativity and, just be surrounded by like-minded people. Sometimes people that are not like-minded and don't like the same books that you do, and that's fine too. But yeah, I would love that. I would definitely love to have chapters all over the place.
And I've said it on the show before, but book clubs really, they've just been so life changing for me. So I cannot recommend them enough. And thank you, Illy, not just for being on the podcast today, which has been so much fun, but for creating Spinebender Society and just creating such a welcoming group. It's like opened up possibilities for me creatively too. So just thank you. It's been amazing.
Thank you. I'm glad that it has, and I just enjoy it. So when you say that, I'm just like it feels so good to hear it, and then I'm also like it makes me so happy and like fulfills me so much to do it as well that
Yeah.
it's like it you can't get any better than that, right?
Love it. And I definitely am going to want to have you back on for us to maybe do different sorts of episodes where we dive deeper into different books or other nerdy things. I think it'll be fun.
I would love that. I would definitely love that. There's just so much,
I
right?
know.
Like, yeah, it's like I loved the episode that you guys went into Bridgerton and stuff, both episodes that you guys went into that.
Thank you.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, we'd have to see what the next big book that's coming out that people are like so excited about. And I know like Fourth Wing is like a big one, but like I don't feel like I am capable of deep diving into that.
No. So, yeah, maybe less of like deep dives and more of just like, this is what we think. Deep dives are a lot of work. Like, props to all the podcasters who do that because the amount of effort it takes behind the scenes to prep and then edit, it's a lot.
Yeah, to read the chapters too, like,
Yeah.
and dissect each and every chapter, like that's rough, it's really rough. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I would love to come back.
Thank you for being such a supporter of me and the podcast from the very beginning. Like before it even came out, you were beyond supportive. You told people about it. Thank
No, of
you.
course. No, I'm happy. And Morgan, you're such a good person. Like you're just like when people when people meet you, you give off such an air of just being very genuine, and you've been so incredibly supportive of me that like it's literally the least that I could do, and
Oh,
and sometimes I'm like I said, I'm bad at social media, so it's like sometimes like I'll won't be on for like a day or two, and then like I'll go on and like one of your posts from like a day or two ago will like pop up, and I'll be like, okay, let me go and look and see like what she posted, and I start liking stuff like to like catch up.
oh my God.
But
Thank you.
I mean, that's what friends do. Like you support each other, and like I love like everybody that you've had on has been like so great and has brought something so different. So I'm excited to like see it grow. Like that makes me excited for you. And
Oh,
yeah,
thank you. Gonna make me cry.
I know. I've been like on the verge.
Oh, I know. I always find it a success when people cry on my podcast. So, okay. So I know you gave your Instagram handle before. Do you want to say it again? And then maybe tell people where also they could find your book club?
So on Instagram, depending on which, follow both accounts because like they both have content. So Spinebender Society _ORL is the Orlando chapter. And then we also have Spinebender Society SFL for South Florida. So follow us both. You're welcome to DM me at the Orlando chapter. My personal Instagram is also attached to the profile there. And then as far as our actual book club, if you would love to join and attend a meeting, there's a link on both of the IGs to the respective chapter. So you're welcome to join us, or you could DM me if you want to start your own chapter.
Yeah, and I'll share links to everything in the show notes. So click over there to check that out.
If there's like any other book clubs, that ever like want to partner up or like, do anything, I know that there's plenty of like silent book clubs is a big thing right now, as well. So yeah, we're here. Spine Benders is open.
Thank you again so much for being here, and I'm excited for us to record again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Little
Of course. I'm so glad that you finally said yes. You are an amazing guest and an amazing book club host.
Thank you. And I'm excited to come back and we'll get creative with it and see what we can do.
Thank you all so much for listening. Please be sure that you're following That Nerd Thing in your favorite podcast app so that you never miss an episode. And I would love it so much if you could please leave That Nerd Thing a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you're watching this episode on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. If you have any questions or thoughts, you can email me at thatnerdthingpod@gmail.com. And you can follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at thatnerdthingpod. And share the show with all of your book-loving friends so that they know how to start a book club. And we'll see you next time. Bye.